មាជិកគណៈបកសង្គ្រោះជាតិប្រាជ្ញាផ្នែកសាមគ្គីក្រុមនានាសង្គ្រោះបម្រើការពារកម្ពុជាខ្មែរព្រមគ្រប់គ្នាទាមទារសិទ្ធិសេរីឯករាជ្យបូរណភាពអធិបតេយ្យខ្មែរប្រស្រីបដូរផ្ដាច់ថែរក្សាមិនឲ្យបរទេសឈ្លានពានមកត្រួតត្រាសម្បត្តិដូនតាធនធានជាតិខ្មែរព្រះអាទិត្យរាំងបំភ្លឺកម្ពុជាខ្មែរឯកភាពគ្នាដងស្រាយបញ្ហានយោបាយសេដ្ឋកិច្ចសង្គមអហិង្សាស្របវត្តថ្លៃថ្លាជីវភាពរុងរឿងដីយើងពូជយើងភូខលយើងខ្មែរក្រោកឡើងសង្គ្រោះជាតិខេមរាបោះឆ្នោតឲ្យចំដោយអំណាចជូនប្រជាដើម្បីកម្ពុជារួមរឿងសេនសានជ័យយោគណៈបកសង្គ្រោះជាតិសមាជិកគណៈបកសង្គ្រោះជាតិប្រាជ្ញាថ្មីគ្មានសាមគ្គីក្រុមនានាសង្គ្រោះបម្រើការពារកម្ពុជាខ្មែរព្រមគ្រប់គ្នាទាមទារសិទ្ធិសេរីឯករាជ្យបូរណភាពអធិបតេយ្យខ្មែរប្រស្រីបដូរផ្ដាច់ថែរក្សាមិនឲ្យបរទេសឈ្លានពានមកត្រួតត្រាសម្បត្តិដូនតាធនធានជាតិខ្មែរព្រះអាទិត្យរាំងបំភ្លឺកម្ពុជាខ្មែរឯកភាពគ្នាដងស្រាយបញ្ហានយោបាយសេដ្ឋកិច្ចសង្គមអហិង្សាស្របវត្តថ្លៃថ្លាជីវភាពរុងរឿងដីយើងពូជយើងភូខលយើងខ្មែរក្រោកឡើងសង្គ្រោះជាតិខេមរាបោះឆ្នោតឲ្យចំផ្ដល់អំណាចជូនប្រជាដើម្បីកម្ពុជារួមរឿងសេនសាន
Good evening. How are you? Hi, my name is Linda. I am broadcasting live from Los Angeles, California. Welcome to CNRP-America live TV show. This is Khmer Youth Voices for Justice. My topic for today would be Stop Forced Return of Refugee. I have two wonderful guests with me today. They've both been here, and I, as always, thank you that they always give up their time to be on the show. Let me see. Our topic, Stop Forced Return of Refugee. We are talking about the refugee, Cambodian refugee in Thailand that are forced return to Cambodia. So far, we have four refugees that sent back since November 9. So we will talk about in detail regarding that. And also we will ask you as an audience what you can do to prevent such thing that happen against such a forced return of our refugee. Before I start, please help to sign the petitions. As always, ending impunity for justice in Cambodia. We have over 112,000 signatures, but your help and you help to share, you help to broadcast the signature is still really important. Please head to change.org to sign our petitions. Ending impunity for justice in Cambodia. I have a video from Her Excellency Mosakur thanking you that have helped us to reach over 112,000 signatures. So please watch the short clips, and then we will be back, and we'll introduce our guests, two beautiful ladies, and then we'll go from there and discuss our topic. Okay.
ហេតុអីប៉ាធ្វើល្អបានគេសម្រាប់
រដ្ឋប្រហារថ្ងៃទី5ទី6ជីវវិទ្យាត្រូវបានខ្មាន់រំលើង
សំ
បា
ណុ
ញ់
ំ
សម្
រឿង
លាប់
នេះជាប់ពាក់ព័ន្ធនឹងរាជរដ្ឋាភិបាលនេះអ្នកស្រីពីសិទ្ធិ
លោកបណ្ឌិតកម្មលីត្រូវបានខ្មាន់រំលើងបាញ់សម្លាប់
3គ្រាប់កាលពីថ្ងៃក្រោយប៉ុន្តែ
ត្រាក់ណាបេះដូងលែងដើរសកុតភ្លៀងខ្ញុំសូមថ្លែងអំណរគុណទៅដល់បងប្អូនដែលបានចូលរួមចុះហត្ថលេខាលើញ៉ាត់យុទ្ធនាការបញ្ចប់នៃទណ្ឌភាពនៅកម្ពុជា
តាមនិយាយទាំងអស់ពីពិភពលោកបានចូលរួម
ធ្វើនៅកាតព្វកិច្ចដ៏សំខាន់មួយ
ពិសេសយុវជនដែលបានចូលរួមញ៉ាត់បញ្ចប់នៃទណ្ឌភាពនៅប្រទេសកម្ពុជារបស់យើង
ហើយក៏ជាលើកទី1នៅក្នុងប្រវត្តិសាស្ត្រដែលបងប្អូនខ្មែរទូទាំងពិភពលោកអាចមានឱកាសចូលរួមស្វែងរកយុត្តិធម៌
ជូនអ្នកដែលបានបាត់បង់ជីវិតទៅ
ហើយនៅពេលនេះញ៉ាត់យើងបានជាង 100000
ដែលញ៉ាត់របស់យើងគឺមានចំនួន 100000 ជាងហើយ
មិនដែលមានញ៉ាត់ណាមានខ្ពស់ដល់ប៉ុណ្ណឹងហើយនៃទណ្ឌភាពនៅប្រទេសកម្ពុជាដែលយើងចង់បញ្ចប់គឺករណីសម្លាប់ដោយរដ្ឋដូចជាករណីលោកជាវិជាករណីលោកស្រីពិសិដ្ឋលក្ខណៈចាក់នៃលោកករណីលោកឈុតវិធីករណីនៃបដិជនសុនប៊ុនធឿន
បានសម្លាប់រំពាលទៅលើពលរដ្ឋទៅលើអ្នកចេះដឹងទៅលើអ្នកដែលឈឺឆ្អាលរឿងប្រទេសជាតិរឿងនយោបាយ
ហើយបន្តប៉ុណ្ណោះគឺយើងនឹងស្វែងរកយុត្តិធម៌នៅក្នុងប្រទេសកម្ពុជាទៀតមិនឲ្យមានការកាប់សម្លាប់ប្រជាពលរដ្ឋក្រៅប្រព័ន្ធច្បាប់នោះទេ
ដូច្នេះយុទ្ធនាការនេះគឺជាយន្តការអន្តរជាតិមួយដើម្បីជួយរកយុត្តិធម៌គាត់តាមរយៈអន្តរជាតិ
ដើម្បីយើងប្តឹងទៅតុលាការអន្តរជាតិជួយរកភាពយុត្តិធម៌ជូនអ្នកដែលបានបាត់បង់ជីវិត
អ្នកដែលយកបានមកចុះហត្ថលេខាជាង 100000 អ្នកនេះគឺយើងយកទៅអង្គការសហប្រជាជាតិដើម្បីទាមទារឲ្យអង្គការសហប្រជាជាតិដឹងថាត្រូវតែមានការស៊ើបអង្កេតដោយឯករាជ្យលើករណីទាំងអស់នេះ
លុះត្រាតែបងប្អូនយើងទាំងអស់គ្នានៅក្នុងស្រុកនិងក្រៅស្រុកចូលរួមឲ្យបានច្រើនបន្តនៅយុទ្ធនាការបញ្ចប់នៃទណ្ឌភាពនៅក្នុងប្រទេសកម្ពុជាដូច្នេះសូមបន្តចុះញ៉ាត់ឲ្យបានច្រើនគ្រប់គ្នាបន្ថែមទៀត
ហើយខ្ញុំសង្ឃឹមថាពុកម៉ែបងប្អូននឹងបន្តចុះញ៉ាត់អនឡាញនេះបន្តទៅទៀត
ដើម្បីឈានទៅរកយុត្តិធម៌ជូនដល់ជនរងគ្រោះហើយបញ្ចប់ពីទណ្ឌភាពនៅប្រទេសកម្ពុជា
ដោយគ្រាន់តែបងប្អូនមានត្រឹមតែទូរស័ព្ទដៃមួយគ្រឿងនេះគឺជារឿងអស្ចារ្យមួយនៅក្នុងសតវត្សទី21នាសម័យបច្ចេកវិទ្យានេះ
យើងរួមគ្នាបញ្ចប់នីតិរដ្ឋភាពដើម្បីយុត្តិធម៌នៅកម្ពុជា
ចូលរួមបញ្ចប់នីតិរដ្ឋភាពដើម្បីយុត្តិធម៌នៅក្នុងកម្ពុជា
យើងចូលរួមបញ្ចប់នីតិរដ្ឋភាពដើម្បីយុត្តិធម៌នៅកម្ពុជាទាំងអស់គ្នា
យើងរួមគ្នាដើម្បីបញ្ចប់នីតិរដ្ឋភាពនៅប្រទេសកម្ពុជា
ដើម្បីបញ្ចប់នីតិរដ្ឋភាពឲ្យមានយុត្តិធម៌នៅក្នុងប្រទេសកម្ពុជា
រួមគ្នាបញ្ចប់នីតិរដ្ឋភាពដើម្បីយុត្តិធម៌នៅប្រទេសកម្ពុជា
រួមគ្នាបញ្ចប់នីតិរដ្ឋភាពដើម្បីយុត្តិធម៌នៅកម្ពុជា
សូមបងប្អូនចូលរួមចុះហត្ថលេខាលើញ៉ាត់របស់យើងដើម្បីបញ្ចប់វប្បធម៌នីតិរដ្ឋភាពនៅប្រទេសកម្ពុជាដើម្បីរកយុត្តិធម៌ជូនទៅដល់អ្នកដែលរងគ្រោះ
ចូលរួមបញ្ចប់នីតិរដ្ឋភាពនៅក្នុងប្រទេសកម្ពុជាចូលរួម
Welcome back and thank you for joining our show. Again, this is CNRP-America live TV show, Khmer Youth Voices for Justice. Our topic for today is Stop Forced Return of Refugee. Today is December 7, 2021. I hope everyone is doing great today or tonight. It is night in America, so I hope everybody is doing great in America and also everywhere out you are enjoying your day so far. I have two beautiful ladies, both inside and outside. Let me introduce my first one. Her name is Brittany Baker. She is the former teacher in Cambodia, and she is currently a teacher in Columbus, Ohio. She's care and concerned so much about Cambodia. And if you ask her, she probably read all the news about Cambodia. So let me bring her out. Brittany. How are you, Brittany?
I'm well, despite the snow. It just started snowing here in Columbus.
Okay, then you're going to be staying home and be warm, correct?
Yeah, I hope so.
let me let our audience, if our audience have not know Brittany, she's been here many times. She can also speak Khmer. So she, like I said, she was a teacher in Cambodia, and now she is she's been a teacher, and she is teaching in Columbus, Ohio as well. Let's speak a little bit of Khmer with Brittany. សុខសប្បាយបងអូន Brittany
ចាសុខសប្បាយបងសុខសប្បាយអី
ចាខ្ញុំសុខសប្បាយចាអរគុណ Brittany អរគុណដែលចូលរួមនៅក្នុងកម្មវិធីរបស់ CNRPA ថ្ងៃនេះចា
អរគុណបានហៅខ្ញុំតាមទៀត
Brittany ធ្វើអីឥឡូវនៅ Columbus Ohio
ចាសប្តាហ៍នេះខ្ញុំគ្រូបង្រៀនចាគ្រូអង់គ្លេស
ចា and thank you Brittany now I'm back to okay អរគុណ Brittany ដែលបានលះបង់លះបង់ម៉ោងលះបង់ថ្ងៃលះបង់ពេលវេលាគ្រប់យ៉ាងចាដើម្បីជួយបងប្អូនយើងរឿងជួយបង្រៀនបងប្អូនយើងជាភាសាអង់គ្លេសហើយជួយបងនៅសមាគម Columbus Ohio
ចា
Okay, we'll talk a little bit just that. Okay. See, she speaks Khmer perfectly, everyone. so thank you so much, Brittany, for being here today.
Yeah, thank you for the invite again.
Okay, let me introduce my next guest and then we'll bring you back.
Perfect.
My next guest, her name is Pauline Sam. She is the General Secretary of the CNRPA Women Affairs, and she's been here so many times, and how it's as I can call her my mentor. Let me bring her out.
So, well, what an honor for you to introduce me that way. Thank you. I wish I could live up to that.
You are more than that. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for all the time giving up your time. And every time I ask you to be here, you drop everything and you being here like today.
Thank you.
Would you like to tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Okay, so since our topic today is about refugees or preventing refugees from being deported back to Cambodia, I came to the U.S. We escaped from Cambodia into Thai in November of 1979. And then from there, we came to the U.S. But we're going to focus on my experience in the refugees camp in Thailand.
Thank you. And yes, we will need your experience today because we want to tie to what Thailand did in 1979 to past almost 1990, and then what is going on in Thailand right now with our refugee. Let me bring Brittany back, and then we'll go into our topic today. Hi, Brittany.
Hi.
Okay. I know Brittany and Pauline is all aware that since November 9, Thailand have arrested 4 of our refugees. They all have the actually been accepted as a UNHCR, stand for UN High Commissions for Refugee. So they are when they accept like that, it means that when when they return to Cambodia, they are subject to jail because of their most of them are CNRP political activists that escape Cambodia and then stay in Thailand. Like I said, since November 9, so their name is Wun Visna, Wong Samnang, Thierry, and then the last one would be Mik Hing. This 4 have arrested and then sent back to Cambodia, and also there's Imang that also they disrobe him, and but luckily the UN was working quickly and he was able to still stay in Thailand. Brittany, how do you feel about the refugee being sent back to Cambodia?
It's interesting because Thailand has for some time been a safe place for people who are facing persecution, and having accepted refugees after the U.S. war in Vietnam and the genocide and things like that. So there's this history, this longstanding history of being a harbor for people who are facing persecution, and then to see this new trend is very troubling. And it sends a pretty clear message that the Thai authorities, whoever might be involved in those deportations, are siding with corruption and with other injustices rather than sending a message of support and upholding human rights.
Thank you, Brittany. And I mean, Pauline is here today. Like I said, she's our special guest. She's gonna. I was not there in 1975, and Brittany, of course, too young to be there anyhow. So that means, can you share a little bit on like up in 19? I believe it had to start with 1975, where our Cambodian trying to escape Khmer rule crossed the border to Thailand and being a refugee in Thailand. And after the Khmer rule, many more people crossed the border, and Thai help us stay in Thailand and help many Cambodians stay in Thailand until they get accepted to what we call third country. Can you share a little bit of your experience?
Yes. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. So you're correct. The Khmer Rouge started to invade Cambodia in 1975, and so we lived in. My family couldn't escape, so we lived in that era. And after the era ended, we escaped because the Cambodian government, even at that time, did not want us to leave Cambodia. But my dad and mom, my parents, knew that it wasn't safe for us to continue staying in Cambodia. So we started. My mother was pregnant with my baby sister, and so my dad said it's not safe. We're gonna have to make the journey to another country so that we can be safe. We didn't know we'd be coming to the U.S. We just wanted to escape Cambodia at the time, and the trek was very dangerous. With landmine and all that. Well, to skip that, we made it into Thailand in November of 1979. At that time, we lived in Section 1, so that was like the first. We there were no building or anything. There were tarps and wood. But what was there was the UNHCR. The birth of UNHCR was in 1950. They knew that there will be refugees coming, and so they established, we call it Khao Aidang, short for KID. So that's where we came, and there were hospital, there were a lot of missionary people, there were doctors, nurses, and Thai was kind enough, the Thai government at that time was kind enough to help us, to provide shelter, like Brittany says, sort of like a beacon of hope, because they weren't, beating, we weren't starving, because the UNHCR has purchased services from the Thai, and so there the youth. When I in Cambodia, I was too small to go to school, so I was not even literate, okay? And I didn't know that I was Buddhist because I was too little. So when in the camp, they introduced different religion, and I still didn't even know I was Buddhist. So my first religion was Catholic, because a lot of Catholic missionary went there, and they taught us English and all. To make the long story short, they have a lot of the Thai government, along with the UNHCR, was helping us, sort of like giving us hope again. And they have for youth, they have places called Concern and like in concert, not only we learn how to write Cambodian, and speak, better Cambodian, but they also taught us to arts and craft, and for there, I learned how to crochet, handkerchief. In Cambodia, in Asia, we don't have like tissue paper or anything. Wherever you go, you have handkerchief and to use. So they taught us how to do this, and then that's what I did. And they also taught us to crochet like blankets. This is what I crochet, like the blankets and all that. So they not only teach us literature, they teach us Cambodian, they teach us English. They taught us how to sew, how to crochet, how to do all that you want, and basketball, sports. So there were no threat of being deported. And so I would like to appeal to the Thai government and the UNHCR to return to those era where we didn't have to live in fear of being deported for what we believed in. So, all in all, I'm very grateful for you, the Thai government, for allowing us to stay there and allowing us to have a better life. And then, now here I am. I'm still grateful. So I'm asking you again, these people you will be helping will be very grateful, and we become productive member of society. We're giving back, and we don't forget it. If you have any question, you can ask in the audience or, private chat. So I don't know what else you want to know. Is that good enough?
Yes. Thank you. I mean, let me ask Brittany a little bit. Brittany, why are there still refugee? Like now is that what 2021? Why still refugee in Thailand? This is a brand new group of refugees, and like I said, they are CNRP activists that escaped Cambodia. Why are they there, Brittany? Do you know?
Yeah, good question. First, I just want to thank Nekru for sharing that story with us, and I love to see the things that you made. And I think soon I will need that blanket here in Ohio. But it's a good question to consider why in 2021 there are still refugees or asylum seekers fleeing to Thailand. And I think it speaks to the desperation. It speaks to the reality of many opposition activists who don't have the safety that they need to do what they need to do to reform Cambodia. And so a lot of them they have no choice but to leave or to be killed or their family to be killed. I think as we have seen time and time again. So considering the proximity to Thailand, it's where many of the activists end up, so they can have that safety. And considering the long history of UNHCR in Thailand, I would like to think and expect that they would be more welcoming and protective of asylum seekers and people that, if deported, will certainly face harassment and more than harassment too back in Cambodia.
Thank you, Brittany. Thank you for help explaining that. If our audience didn't know the politics side of Cambodia, the CNRP party got dissolved by the regime. So as a result, anyone that speak up, even though about politics, about environmental, about anything that you have to say that has nothing to do with peace and prosperity to the country, you will get thrown in jail, your family get harassed. And so many CNRP activists escape to Thailand. So they are living in Thailand so they can have the freedom to broadcast, many of them to be broadcast on Facebook or broadcast live, especially live on Facebook, and that also to call out why to call out what's going on in Cambodia. Why we in everyone in Cambodia should be aware of the situation right now. Like I said, if you're not thank you peace, and you not appreciate of the development in Cambodia, the development of where people land, especially land grabbing, the development of lake and pond, when put sand and build condo where many Cambodians cannot even afford to live there. And if you call out the environmental activists where if there's something happen at the beach and you call out, oh, there's dirty water at the beach and who caused those, you will be in jail. And this is the situation where white people are crossing the border, and it's not a safe thing to cross the border to go into Thailand. And recently, many people have been arrested and sent back to Cambodia, and they not just go into Cambodia, they went to Cambodia and they were thrown in jail, and I guess what I call prison in Cambodia. And we are here today, me here today, Brittany here today, and I here today, want to bring attention to that situation. And we want the Thai government to able to say, you help Thailand and the Thai government helped us in 1979, and we want them to continue because the situation in Cambodia does not improve, and we want the Thai government to to be able, if our refugee find something wrong with our refugee or they are violating the law, let's talk, let's see what's going on. Don't just privately at night and then send them back over to across the border without negotiate with anyone. I mean, I know you know a little bit of the universal forgot about that declaration. Yes, can you tell us a little bit of that?
Okay. So before I wanted to go into that, I just wanted to say a little bit of things about the Thai. We would like for you to be a part of the, like in the US in the 70s, there's a saying, either you're a part of the solution or you're the part of the problem. We would like for you to continue to be part of the solution, continue to help us. So those people that Linda had that mentioned, most are activists, CNRP activists, but not all. Like one, he's a laborer. He's not even affiliated with the CNRP, but he's also being silent, arrested, and brought back, deported to Cambodia and jailed. It is as a way to silence other people from doing that. What for? So we ask that you continue to be a part of solution that you've already been. Okay. And in terms of the Universal Declaration, it is to provide working along with the UNHCR, is to provide harbor, refuge, safety, provided the beacon of hope for all that is seeking freedom and speaks out against injustice, in short.
Thank you, Namin, for helping with that declarations. Brittany, I know you are working. Also, I know Namin give her experience in Khao Dang when after the Khmer rule. I know you work with the refugee in Ohio. Can you share a little bit of your experience?
Yeah. Before that, I just want to add something about the Declaration of Human Rights. Article 14 specifically says that people have a right to seek asylum. You have a right to safety and to be free from persecution. So a lot of times we hear the narrative about well, what were they doing, or how did they show up at that border, or were they there legally? Everyone has the right to safety. And if that means crossing borders and asking for protection from the United Nations, then that's absolutely within their right, their human right. That's something that we see a lot here in the United States on the southern border between the U.S. and Mexico too. So it's the same situation. People have the right to protection and to safety, and to be an asylum seeker, to have the protection in a second country or a third country. So I just wanted to add that. To your question about my work with immigrants and refugees here in Columbus, I've been doing this work for more than 10 years. Prior to going to Cambodia, I worked with a few nonprofits here and the school districts also to support refugees and immigrant families in multiple ways, such as helping families get acclimated to the school system here, because the education system in the United States, much like all of our institutions, it's very complicated. So newcomers need a lot of support with that, to get their kids into school, to find ESL classes, to make sure they have all of their documents in order, their immigration documents, and things like that. So that I did that work for many years prior to going to Cambodia. And then in Cambodia, I took very seriously learning the language, because I knew here in Columbus that we have a sizable Khmer population. So I knew I would come back here and work with Cambodian Americans here in Ohio. So since returning from Cambodia, I've continued my work. And although we don't have too many newcomers anymore, we have very few. So it's more about supporting the population that has been here for a few decades now. And now we have different opportunities and different challenges with second generation Cambodian Americans, third generations. So supporting their needs in terms of education, or finding better jobs, finding ways to make their life more better, I suppose you could say, for those that came here after the Khmer Rouge. So yeah, I don't know if you have any specific questions, but that's kind of an overview of what I've been doing for the last 12 years or so.
See, audience, she's not just beautiful outside, she's beautiful inside as well.
Yes.
Thank you, Brittany. Thank you for sharing your experience. Also, when you're talking about the second wave of refugee, the fact that we're talking right now, we do have more refugee in Thailand. And that means I know you pleading with Thailand to let the refugees stay. And also for us in America, we have the duty to contact our congressman, to contact our senator regarding this refugee. I mean, can you help to share with our audience what they can do to help our refugee that currently staying in and hiding and afraid that, you know, whatever they do, what they say, they're gonna get the Thai government gonna grab them and send them back to Cambodia.
Okay, so we all have power of information and speech. So we've heard. Now we're asking, all of us are able to call our lawmakers, our representative, asking support. Number one, support for HR 4686, which is Cambodia Democracy Act 2021, and S 3052, Cambodia Democracy and Human Rights Act of 2021. And along with that, asking the representative or your lawmaker in your state to help, you know, send a message to work with the, asking the Thai government to work with the UNHCR to help stop deporting these people, our Cambodian people, the activists or the laborer, those who are seeking asylum to stop being part of the problem and ask, because we are taxpayers. We have the obligation and the duty to help our fellow human being. Today, it might be them. Tomorrow, it be you. So it's better to help each other while we can. So I urge everyone to call or to write to their lawmakers, to the representative, to support the two bills that I mentioned, and also to help negotiate, to help, that ask, navigate with the Thai government, to work alongside with the UNHCR to provide peace to the asylum and freedom seekers. And you want to know how to go about doing it, we have a support. We have the women, the CNRP Women's Affair with Khmer Hun as the president. You could write to us through the CNRP-America page, and we'll respond to you. Thank you.
Yes, all three of us can help regarding how to make a phone call, how to write to your Congress and your representative. The latest letter we want to send to our Congress and also make for our citizens to call the U.S. State Department. Brittany, do you want to add anything why we should call our Congress and what are we pushing with the U.S. State Department? So to negotiate with Thai, what do we want the Thai government to do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. We want the Thai government to uphold the international law that says that anyone who is facing persecution has the right to protection, has the right to asylum. And international groups have widely condemned these deportations over the last month. And so we need to collectively raise our voices and advocate with those international organizations to put pressure on our government, to put pressure on the Thai government to uphold the international laws that prohibit the deportation of people who are under the protection of UNHCR. And I think, as you mentioned earlier, the fact that these deportations are happening at night and happening very quickly and very swiftly indicate that the Thai authorities who are responsible for these deportations know that their actions are not in line with international law and with Thai law too, and with the agreements that they have signed for the International Convention Against Torture and Cruelty, Inhumane, very long title, but it's not in accordance with those laws and with those policies. So Thai government and those officials who are carrying out the deportations have a responsibility now to prove that they are supporting freedom fighters and those who are seeking justice, rather than taking dirty money or trying to work in a very shady way with a regime. Yeah.
May I add something? After I heard Brittany said, I thought, well, I wanted to add something. May I?
Yes, you may. Okay. Yes.
So along with, Brittany just had brilliant ideas. So I just thought, we also would like the lawmakers to help speed up the process of resettlement. Okay. So these, the people who are on the hit list, those asylum seekers who are on like high blacklist of Hun Sen's government, they are really, really at risk, them and their family. So we would like for you, the international community, including the U.S. lawmakers, to help speed up the process of resettling these people to another country. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadmin, and thank you, Brittany. It's a very great topic that we are talking today, because it we keep hearing it. We keep hearing it on the news, and it's unfortunate that our Cambodian refugee in Thailand that keep getting arrested, and before the UNHCR can work on them, they got sent back really quickly overnight to Cambodia and thrown in jail. And most of them is for incitement for regarding the regime. So everything that they do, incitement to overthrow the regime, and most of them are regarding their freedom of speech. That is in violation of their freedom of speech. Cambodia constitutions is allow freedom of speech, allow freedom of choosing who their political choice, but unfortunately, it's not the case. So I know Brittany want to talk about this. I know we asking you how we asking our audience, please pick up the phone, please write email to your Congress and to your senator, and also if you don't know how, please ask us. We can help you. Brittany is more than happy to help you. I am more than happy to help you. And also, that means Pauline is,
Yes.
yeah, both of these two beautiful ladies able and willing to help anyone who know how to write to our Congress. It is a powerful message. It is as a Cambodian American, it is your duty, and it's your duty to call you, to contact your senator, to contact your Congress, because they want to hear from you. You the one that put them where they at the seat. So please call them, contact them, and let them know that you are Cambodian American who's very concerned so much about Cambodian refugee in Thailand, because they are the reason they're there, because they're escaping the regime where there's no freedom of speech, there's no freedom of expressions. So please contact us if you have any questions. I mean, I know you are wanting to run, but do you have anything to add before you run away from us and just Brittany and I?
Well, thank you so much for having me on the show. And this topic is near and dear to my heart because I am a refugee. The difference between refugees and immigrant, because a lot of people think, oh, well, you're an immigrant. I'm not an immigrant. I'm a refugee. The difference that refugee is that we don't have a choice in where we're going. Immigrant, they have a choice to look at the place, to research the place. They say whether they want to go or not. I don't, I didn't. So, and I like to also have this opportunity for other people, for the Cambodian or other people that are not just Cambodian, but are going through the same thing. I want them to have the experience of freedom. And I believe not only the Cambodian, but anyone can call their congressman, anyone who loves freedom, anyone who wants to help end human suffering can call the congressman, congresswoman, lawmaker to help speed up the process, to help put an end to this illegal deportation, because they're arrested. They have no due process, like Brittany and Linda said. They get arrested at night, deported at night, quickly put in jail. So no due process, no nothing. So thank you. And I hope that you reach out to us if you need some help. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Natmin. Thank you for being here, Natmin. Thank you so much. I know you have an appointment, so thank you for coming to share your experience. Thank you for showing us the blanket that you made and the handkerchief. You're gonna probably have to teach Brittany and I one of these days.
Yeah, this thing is that I learned to meditate. So with each stitch, I say a mantra. So it's protective blanket. It's for relaxation. Anyway, Thank you. Thank you for hearing my story. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Natmin.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
That's
Bye-bye.
going to be, thank you. It's going to be Brittany and I, and thank you, Brittany, for being here. And our message, I hope, loud and clear to our audience. It's really important. It's really important that our audience contact the Congress, contact our senator, because so that way to prevent this from happening, our 4 activists, I mean 3 activists and 1 migrant workers are in jail already just in the last months, and one they get to Cambodia, when they get into Cambodia, the hope of getting them out is very slim, because the regime will not let them out, because it's against because they are charged of incitement, they are charged for using their freedom of speech on Facebook. Do you have anything to add, Brittany?
Yeah, I have a lot of things, Bong.
We do.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are, myself included, like before I was involved with advocacy or refugee issues, I was hesitant to contact my elected officials because I'm like, where do I start with this? Do I have the right to talk to this person? But we all, as community members, as voters, as taxpayers, have the right and the responsibility to talk to our elected officials and to demand the things that we want to see, right? They're representing us. We are paying their salary. So I want to encourage people to be brave and to make the phone call or send an email with to encourage our elected officials to support those 2 pieces of legislation that we mentioned earlier. And I also want to say that it's the more voices that they hear raising these issues, urgent it becomes for them to respond, right? If all of their, or a big number of their constituents are interested in democracy in Cambodia or any particular issue, then they are more likely to respond to that, because they are dependent on the constituents for voting, right, to win the next election. So it's our duty, but it's also their duty to work on our behalf. So I encourage everyone to take that first step. And if you need help to find out who your elected officials are, or how to write an email or make that phone call, I'm more than happy to help anyone with that. I've already sent several letters through the mail, through email, through forms to our elected officials here in Ohio and a couple of other states. But if more people in Ohio, for example, I'm in Ohio, if more people in Ohio send those letters, send those messages and those phone calls, then it gains more momentum and more traction for those elected officials to represent us and to work for us.
Thank you, Brittany. Yes, we're talking like 3 different things today. So let me summarize. Of course, the urgency right now is to stop forced return of refugees. So the first thing we want our Cambodian community. You don't have to be Cambodian. You can be any national. You have the voice to vote in America. You have the voice to call your Congress and your senator. So you do not have to be Cambodian American. You don't have to be Cambodian. You can be any national. The urgencies, please call your senator, your Congress, and help, and for them to help to stop force the return of refugee. The thing is, ask your senator to ask them to for the U.S. State Department to help negotiate with the Thai government to continue to hold high-level meeting with the Thai authority, and also to accept cases referred by UNHCR as early as possible, and also to continue to negotiate. So please contact, and that is the urgent matter, is because we want our refugee that in Thailand to be able to have a third country, so that way they would not be afraid, would not be scared for the Thai government to negotiate with the Hun Sen regime and send them back. That's one. The second request would be for everyone, not just Cambodian Americans, for everyone. Please help us with HR 4686. And that would be to promote free and fair elections, political freedoms, and human rights in Cambodia and other purposes. So another one is S3052. Both of them is at the Senate. So you don't have to contact your Congress on HR 4686. So Senator, per state have 2 senators. So you only have to make 2 phone calls or 2 email or to follow up. And another one is S3052, and the title is to promote free and fair elections, democracy, political freedoms, and human rights in Cambodia and for other purposes. I know we've been talking about both the HR 4686, S3052 for many, I think probably for 2 months now, but I really encourage everybody to contact our Congress, contact your representative, because your voice matter. And the fact that if you vote in America, you have the voice, you have the will to if you have the will to contact. And we hope that you do concern, because you're watching this TV and you see Brittany beautiful smile. It should encourage everybody to go call your representative, your senator. And Brittany, even, she teach English, she involved with her community. She have time to come to this show to help to forecast regarding refugee in Thailand, the crisis right now, what we can call the crisis with our refugee in Thailand. So please take less than a couple minutes out of your time, less than the time you make coffee. So please consider helping our Cambodian refugee in Thailand, and also consider helping us to pass both of those bills, as HR 4686 and S3052. Again, if you like Brittany's smile, please. Thank you, our audience, so much. Very engaging.
For every one letter and phone call, I will give you 1 smile.
Thank you, Brittany. We are actually, well, you cannot keep smiling. So we are actually at the end of our show. And I believe Brittany and I said enough. The end of the story, we need your help. The end of the day, we need your help. We are here passing the message, our urgent concern regarding our refugee in Thailand, that they are right now with our voice, without a voice right now, because they are afraid. First, they are afraid they were in Cambodia. Now they are afraid in Thailand, where the country where help us Cambodian since 1975 or even earlier, to help our Cambodian refugee crossing the border and waiting for the third country to accept them. And we again asking Thai government to not send our Cambodian refugee back to Cambodia.
Mm-hmm.
You have anything to add, Brittany, to our audience?
Yeah,
our very engaging audience.
I also think it's important to consider how maybe this is for another night. It's a big topic, but it's interesting to consider everything that the Thai government receives, everything beneficial that they receive from Cambodia. For example, look at all of the migrant workers that are going to work in Thai for much lower wages, with sometimes not great working conditions. Yet now we're seeing a rise in human rights abuses from the Thai government. So on the one hand, they're happy to accept very cheap labor on the Thai fishing boats, or even in the markets. When I was in Thailand, a lot of the market jobs in the bigger cities and the street vendors and blue collar jobs like that, you can say, were held by Cambodian migrants. So on the one hand, they're open to accepting this cheap labor, but on the other hand, they're not upholding the human rights standards that are international law that they are required to uphold. So I don't think they can have both. I don't think they can have their cake and eat it too, so to speak.
Thank you, Brittany, and thank you so much for being here today. We are at end of our show, like I said many times, but Brittany's smile is still our audience, still mentioning her smile. So please, next time Brittany going to be here, if you want her to smile, please call your senator, call your representative, like Mr. Ricky also mentions. He's also very involved with this. Please call. Only take a couple minutes to write email. Take a couple minutes to make a phone call. And you again, you the voter, you have really powerful. And also our migrant worker, and also our refugee in Thailand. All of them. There's many migrant workers in Thailand because the regime does not have an economy to sustain Cambodian, to live in Cambodia, to make a decent living. And so that way they are migrant in Thailand. And even though they migrant, even though if they're not migrant worker, if they don't even affiliate with CNRP, if they voice their unhappiness to the thank you peace and the development in Cambodia, they will also get sent back and thrown in jail as well. It's not only our activists, but your help is very important to our refugee. Please contact your senator so that way they can contact the U.S. State Department regarding our current refugee right now. And we do want our refugee to be able to find third countries so that way they can have their voice, speak their voice, and also work toward helping Cambodia, like Brittany and I right now. Anything to add, Brittany?
I don't think so. Just take 5 minutes tonight or tomorrow or sometime in the very near future to please reach out to your elected officials because you have the right to do that, and to help us demand for better just conditions in Cambodia. And it's very urgent now because there are people that are sitting in prison in terrible conditions, and more people who are afraid of that fate also. So it's incredibly urgent.
Thank you, Brittany. And let me speak Khmer a little bit. អរគុណ Brittany ដែលបានចូលរួមកម្មវិធីរបស់យើងថ្ងៃនេះ so អរគុណដែលបានជើញចូលរួមចា៎
ចា៎អរគុណបងចា៎
Thank you, Brittany. Thank you, our audience. We are at the end of our show, and thank you so much for being here. Thank you, and for having a engaging conversation with us. This is CNRP-America live TV show. This show is also called Khmer Youth Voices for Justice. Brittany's a youth, so she's here today, and her voice speaks louder than all of us. We need all of us to speak and plead. We need everyone, not just Cambodian American, that have the opportunity to vote. I need everyone to contact your senator. Please contact your senator. Please contact your Congress regarding our refugee, our crisis in Cambodia, where our refugee in Thailand is not able to do anything because if they got arrested, then they will get sent back to Cambodia, and that's not what we want. We want the Thai government to, if they do something wrong, then we'll talk about that, and also negotiate what's going on right now, and to hold our refugee in Thailand. Do not send them back. Again, that's pleading to the Thai government. And when I'm pleading to our audience, please help to contact your senator and your representative. The urgent matter is to help with our refugee, stop help the Thai government to help not send the refugee to back to Cambodia. And again, thank you, our audience. Thank you for being here tonight. I appreciate your comment. I appreciate all the can say engaging comment for today. And I will see you next Tuesday. Hope you have a great evening or a good day wherever you at, being productive. And if I didn't see you, I hope to see you next Tuesday. But if I know it's a holiday, this week is holiday, so Bopachin might have a great dinner. So I hope you have a good evening, and also if you are daytime or afternoon, have a great day, and I will see you next Tuesday. As always, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for your comment. And if you want us to talk about any topic or any comment regarding Cambodia or America or anything, we will pick it up and talk about that. We will research and we will talk about that. Thank you so much.